In Team Fortress 2, there is a classic power struggle between Reliable Excavation Demolition and Builders League United, two major companies fighting over the gravel empire of Zephaniah Man. While these companies are quite pronounced in-game, and you'd have to be blind not to know they exist, there are quite a few other companies and products that exist in the world of TF2. Their existence is shown by posters and logos plastered across the various maps in-game. Today I'd like to take a look at these companies and products, and define or speculate what they do lore-wise. Before I start, I want to clarify that this is going to be a multi-part series. In this video, I'll only be taking a look at the companies displayed on Valve-made maps. In the future, I'll be releasing videos on community-made maps and holiday maps, maybe more. With that out of the way, let's jump on in. The first companies I want to take a look at are the subsidiary companies of Blue and Red. Those having their namesake, but branching off into different products or purposes. Many of these may be various shell companies owned by the Mann brothers, and some may have actual working purposes in the lore of the game. Skyman Slash made a good video on this that I would highly recommend watching. Link in the description below. Red Bread and Blue Corn oppose each other on Granary as farming companies. These ones seem to be total fronts, unlike the companies of Red Ironworks and Blue Blast Complex, which seem to be fully functioning blast furnaces and iron factories respectively. Blue also has their own opposing metalworking company to Red Iron, Blue Steel, a reference to the hottest tempering color of steel. Both companies also have their own brewing companies, as seen in both the Rancho Relaxo taunt and the map of Well that consists of the dueling breweries. Red's is aptly named Red Shed, and they seem to produce both whiskey and beer. It's also possible that Red Shed might be responsible for the brand Old Geezer Draft Beer, which appears across a whole slew of maps, but it's just as likely that Old Geezer is an independent brand. A quick note on Old Geezer, by the way, there was supposed to be an Old Geezer bobblehead based on the brand in Meet the Sniper, but it was deemed too obscure and they instead went with the civilian bobblehead. Blue's opposing brewery was unnamed until a year after Well was released. In Meet the Engineer, Engie drinks from a bottle which has the label Blue Streak, produced by Blue Brewery. Both Blue Streak and Red Shed Beer can also be seen in a few of the TF2 comics. The two other brands bearing the namesake of our beloved team split off from each other in terms of product. Red has their own mining company, Red Valley Mining, advertised across many of the desert-themed maps, and Sawmill. Blue, on the other hand, opted to have an alternate branding of Blue Industries Incorporated, a catch-all title that doesn't really give away what its purpose is. There are other map-exclusive brands like the Blast Furnace companies. For instance, Hydro is seemingly owned and run by a company by the name of Alpha Electric, which assumedly maintains the hydroelectric plant. There's also the other two hydroelectric plants of the game, Wood Electric, which is run by Red, and McJohn Power, which is run by Blue. The only other Valve-made map that revolves around a company is Mercenary Park. The second half of the map is the YTI Institute for Research and Development, which is likely the institute that enhanced the captive animals according to Saxon Hale's vision. There also seems to be a partnership between Manco and YTI Hale Shipping, which took care of the transportation of the enhanced animals. Now let's look at some of the companies that aren't map-based, or bearing the namesake of the teams. These ones are pretty much only found as posters that are mass-produced and plastered across the maps of the game. It's quite possible that many of them are shell companies and fronts, or at least owned by the teams. The most prominent of these companies is the Happy Farmers Cooperative, which the wiki suspects to be an agricultural group. Alongside their regular logo, they also run a set of posters based on the Farmall Tractor ad posters. The posters are almost identical to the Farmall 400 International Harvester poster. These ads typically run on Red's side, alongside Zippy Plow posters. Once again, this is pretty identical to the real-life poster ads for the Ferguson system, a hitch system for tractors. On the blue side of things, there's the company Industrial, which looks to make tractors and other equipment similar to the Caterpillar D10. There's a lot of tractor companies in this game. Blue also heavily advertises the steel rod company, Biggs, which I'm guessing is owned by the Conager family, as it was founded the same year Radigan Conager, Engineer's grandfather, built the life extender machines for the Mann brothers. He could have used the money he got for building the machines to create the company. Rio Grande Coal Company seems to be owned by Blue in opposition to Red Valley Mining. Their logo is a reference to ADM's logo, which represented in the 60s and 70s making chemicals from plants instead of oil or coal. The font used by this company is also very similar to that used by the Rio Grande Valley Railroad. There's a few companies that bear reference to Valve employees. For instance, Driller, which appears to be a... How many fucking tractor companies are in this fucking game? Driller is a reference to Valve game designer Dave Riller. Cliff Rocks Inc. is a reference to Valve level designer Jess Cliff. And this company sells... rocks? I don't fucking know, man. On Barn Blitz is a reference to Jeff Ballinger, a Valve artist. There's Wright Shipping, which references Valve 3D artists Matt and Danica Wright. And lastly, we've got Casale Shaft & Co., a reference to Valve level designer Dario Casale. Lightning round of the boring ones. Beacon, who fucking knows what they do? General Industries Co., who fucking knows what they do? Red Gravel Co., owned by this dipshit. Cornwell, probably grain silos or something?
Oh, whoa! Grummy's Burgers?
Alliance, tow truck company for Red. Sanders Barbecue, Lucky Plucker, Egg Supply, Brown Nugget Prospecting, Jenkin Coal Co., Regal Plumbing Supplies, Imperial Mining. Wait, actually that one's kind of interesting. Those two are both Crown Designs, but oh, we're out of time in the lightning round. Let's move on to more interesting stuff. Bingsy Logging and Binsky Paper Co. are two interesting companies that appear on Sawmill and Lumberyard. They're probably companies started by the opposing teams to rip each other's ideas off. Essentially the same company. Clem's Corn Company and Jimmy Jam Lemon Company are prominent across a lot of maps in the game, and are also included as logos on the Citizen Payne minigun weapon skin. Interestingly enough, Jimmy Jam appears mainly on blue sides of the maps, despite being a mainly red logo, and on the red variation of the weapon skin. Gold Metal is a dynamite company that likely supplies both red and blue. Their dynamite boxes are frequent, and being that the two companies are builder and demolition companies, they have to get their explosives from somewhere. Husky Acres seems to only appear on the side of sheds and barns, which leads me to believe they may be a carpentry company that builds barns. Piper & Piper's Pipeworks Inc. has an inscription on their poster, "We fix broken valves," and a picture of a pipe with a red valve. Who knows what that could be a reference to. Cracky Pop is a soda company that the wiki says may be a reference to the famous Rice Krispies motto, "Snap Crackle Pop." I also think it may be a reference to the fact that Coca-Cola used to be made with cocaine as the main ingredient. Sunny Hay is a hay supplier. There's a play on the phrase, "Sunny Day." The Northern Express brand train bears resemblance to the Southern Pacific Transportation Company train model EMD GP38, and the open train cars that appear on a few maps have the name Güterwagen, which is German for goods wagon. If you want to learn more about the trains in-game, check out Amtrak Guy 365's video on the topic. He knows what he's talking about way better than I do. Scoot's Canoe is probably a canoe rental business that appears on Foundry and Mountain Lab. Its name is a reference to the community moniker for Scout. Boggy Brook's Boat Rental is another boat business that appears on Mountain Lab. On Foundry, there's a sign for the product Auto Borax, self-scrubbing mechanical soap, by Dr. Wilson. Borax is a chemical cleaning product. There's another variation of this sign in a secret room on Foundry, in which two planks placed up against the sign form the word Tobor. This is a reference to an unused texture in game. Tobor backwards is robot. Lastly, for the normal game modes, there's Kerosene USA, which may or may not be a company. All the water towers on desert maps bear its namesake, so it may be that Kerosene is the county Twofold is located in, but it's just as likely that it's a company. This one is likely a reference to the Garrison Water Tower in Garrison, Texas. That's it for regular maps, but there's one other game mode that Valve made maps for in TF2. Man vs. Machine has a lot of different companies and businesses in it, considering most of the maps are in unique locations associated with Manco. Starting with Coal Town, which itself is a tourist location containing the original variation of Manco, Man Mining Co. The town has a variety of local businesses, including a hotel that has become the housing of the Panoramic View of Coal exhibit, Man Mining Post and Parcel, Coal Town Pharmacy, a commissary, a mule and canary stables, Miners' Barracks, Chap's Dry Goods, which I assume to be a dry goods store, the Judgment Shed, and what's probably a saloon called Salt Rock, which is now a building with a mysterious secret hatch. Moving on to Manhattan, the big city is home to a few familiar companies and a lot of new ones. The point of the map is to defend Manco, the designer boutique company owned by Saxton Hale, which makes some pretty expensive shovels. Seaside Exports appears to be a dock warehouse owned by Manco. The company is a reference to the fact that the warehouse is spiritually the third control point on Manhattan, or Point C. There's also Lumpy Bros Better Butter and Manhattan Used Fireworks, two ridiculous and self-explanatory companies. Point B is the warehouse for a company called Pinker Paul Packaging, likely a packaging manufacturer. Off in the distance, there's an ad for the company SJ Autobody. Finally, there's an ad for edible wood pulp from Captain Dan. Captain Dan makes a variety of food products in the TF2 universe, including Soldier's favorite brand of rancid army surplus soup, and condiments like sour cream and mayonnaise. Next, Rottenberg, the home of Medic, which is a lot of companies that follow his style of strange science. Sticking with this theme, we've got Humboldt's Pharmacy, a doctor's office that specializes in a variety of things, including baboon hearts, a reference to Meet the Medic. This is also a reference to 19th century German scientist Alexander von Humboldt, who was the inspiration for Victor Frankenstein. Humboldt also owns Sauermilchmolkerei GmbH. Sauermilchmolkerei Gesellschaft mit beschränkter Haftung,
Nailed it.
which translates to Sour Milk Dairy LLC. This references the Mad Milk syringes upgrade that Medic can get in MVM. There's a cafe owned by some guy named Otto, and a place called Crit House, which I assume to be a bar. Advertised on the side of a building is a schnapps company called Menschnaps, which seems to be owned by Manco's own brewing division. There's the food retailer Clint's Hogs, or Low on Log, which the wiki says is a reference to the phrase high on hog, or willing to eat the back parts of a hog. There's a store called Discount Alchemist, which seems to trick people into handing over the most valuable metal on the face of the planet. To finish off, we move on to the fake businesses of Decoy, the fake Manco HQ built by Soldier to attract Greyman's robots. It's worth pointing out that since the fake HQ was built on the grounds of what appears to be an old town named Cactus Valley, there's a few real old businesses that have the word man slapped on them. This international headquarters contains Battery Surplus, Global Shipping Department, Research Facility for Anti-Robot Weapons, Manco Magnets, Man Golden Guns, Man Livery, and Man Hotel, which sells hot baths for 15 cents. That's all the companies and products I could find on Valve-made maps. Let me know down in the comments if I missed any and where they are. The next episode of this series will focus on the community-made maps in the game, of which there are a lot. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to see more content like this in the future. Okay, bye.